Night had fallen on 284 Green Street. The year was 1977. An unassuming house in the London borough of Enfield stood silently. It was an ordinary house, or so it seemed. But within its walls, something sinister was awakening. Something that would soon terrify a family and baffle the world. This is the true story of the Enfield Poltergeist, a story that continues to send chills down the spines of those who dare to hear it. This is not a story for the faint of heart. It is a tale woven from the fabric of nightmares, a chilling glimpse into the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of our reality. The events that unfolded at 284 Green Street were not mere tricks of the light or figments of an overactive imagination. They were real, they were terrifying, and they continue to haunt us to this day. Prepare yourself as we delve into the heart of this chilling true story. The Hodgson family were just ordinary people, living in an ordinary house. Peggy Hodgson, a single mother, lived there with her 4 children, Margaret, the eldest, followed by Janet, Johnny, and Billy, the youngest. They were a normal family, with their own routines, their own laughter, and their own share of everyday worries. They were completely unprepared for the nightmare that was about to engulf them. Life at 284 Green Street was unremarkable. The children went to school, played with their friends, and argued over toys, just like any other siblings. Peggy worked hard to provide for her family, keeping their small world spinning. Little did they know that their ordinary life was about to be shattered, their home transformed into a crucible of fear. It started subtly, a series of strange occurrences that could easily be dismissed as coincidence or imagination. A toy moving on its own, a door creaking open despite being closed. The children began to hear whispers, faint and indistinct, like the rustling of leaves just outside the window. But when they looked, there was nothing there. As the days turned into nights, the incidents became more frequent, more pronounced. Furniture began to move on its own, sliding across the floor as if pushed by an unseen hand. Drawers opened and slammed shut with a violent force. The whispers grew louder, transforming into disembodied voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the house. Fear, cold and insidious, began to seep into the hearts of the Hodgson family. 11-year-old Janet seemed to be at the epicenter of these terrifying events. Objects moved around her, seemingly drawn to her presence. She would wake up in the middle of the night, her bed shaking violently, an unseen force trying to throw her to the floor. It was as if whatever malevolent entity had invaded their home had chosen Janet as its primary target. Janet's personality began to change. Once a bright and cheerful child, she became withdrawn and frightened. Her eyes, once sparkling with laughter, now held a haunted look. She would often fall into trance-like states, her voice changing, becoming deep and guttural, speaking words that were not her own. It was a terrifying transformation, one that hinted at something truly sinister at play. The entity, for that is what it had become, began to communicate. Through Janet, it spoke in a rasping, malevolent voice. It identified itself as Bill Wilkins, a man who had died in the house years earlier. It spoke of its anger, its rage at being disturbed. It threatened the family, promising them harm. The voice was chilling. It was not the voice of a child, but that of an old man filled with malice and hatred. It spoke of things that Janet could not possibly know, details about the house and its former occupants that sent shivers down the spines of those who heard it. It was a voice from beyond the grave, a voice that whispered of horrors unseen. The Hodgson family's nightmare had just begun. Their small house on Green Street was no longer a home, but a prison of terror. Invisible hands moved objects. Disembodied voices whispered threats. The entity, whatever it was, focused its attention on 11-year-old Janet. But this was only the beginning. Something far darker lurked beneath the surface. The paranormal activity intensified. Furniture moved violently. Objects flew across the room. Janet, the epicenter of the chaos, began exhibiting strange behavior. Her parents, Peggy and Pete, were terrified. Their little girl was changing, her innocence slipping away. The haunting at 282 Green Street was escalating, and the true horror was about to be unleashed. Janet's sweet demeanor vanished. Her voice, once filled with laughter, now rasped with a chilling, unfamiliar tone. She fell into trances, levitated in her sleep, and spoke in tongues. The entity, it seemed, was possessing her, using her as a vessel for its malevolent energy. One name repeatedly escaped Janet's lips: Bill Wilkins. "He's dead," Janet rasped, her voice guttural and deep. "He died in a chair in the corner. He went blind and then he had a hemorrhage." Bill Wilkins, it turned out, was the previous occupant of the house, a grumpy old man who had died in the very room where Janet now slept. His message sent chills down everyone's spines. The Enfield Poltergeist had a voice, and it claimed to be a deceased and vengeful spirit. Word of the Enfield haunting reached the ears of Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned paranormal investigators. The Warrens, known for their involvement in cases like the Amityville Horror, arrived at Green Street prepared for anything. What they found, however, shocked even them. Janet's possession was intense. Objects flew across the room, seemingly controlled by an unseen force. Lorraine, a clairvoyant, sensed a powerful demonic presence. She witnessed Janet levitating, her body contorted at unnatural angles. Ed, a demonologist, interviewed the family, documenting every detail of the haunting. The Warrens were convinced this was a genuine case of demonic possession, one of the most disturbing they had ever encountered. Their presence brought both hope and fear to the Hodgson family. Could they rid the house of the evil that had invaded it? Despite compelling evidence, skepticism ran rampant. Some believed the Hodgson family, desperate for attention, was orchestrating a hoax. Janet, they argued, was simply a talented actress seeking notoriety. Photos and recordings of the events were deemed inconclusive, easily faked by those seeking fame. Years later, Janet herself admitted to playing up some of the paranormal activity. However, she maintained that many events were genuine and unexplained. This confession, while shocking, did little to quell the debate. Had the Hodgson family fabricated the entire haunting, or had they simply embellished certain aspects of a terrifyingly real experience? The Enfield Poltergeist, it seemed, would forever be shrouded in a cloud of doubt. As time passed, the paranormal activity at Green Street gradually diminished. Janet's possessions subsided, and the disembodied voice of Bill Wilkins faded into silence. The Hodgson family, forever scarred by their experience, attempted to rebuild their lives. The house, however, remained a source of fascination and fear. The Enfield Poltergeist, much like the entity that allegedly haunted the house, refused to be forgotten. The case became a cultural phenomenon, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a Hollywood film. But the question remains, what truly transpired within the walls of 282 Green Street? Was it a genuine haunting, a demonic possession, or an elaborate hoax? The answer, lost to time and shrouded in mystery, continues to fascinate and frighten us to this day.